Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today I'm bringing you 11 paper crafting hacks, which are really more like tips, but you can use that either way you want to. And if you stick around, I've got a 12th one that I've never shown you before, so that one's going to be exciting. Now, why am I doing this video? I've been realizing that I'm doing some things more consistently than I used to do, and I thought, you know what, if I'm doing these, you guys might want to see them too, so that's what I'm going to do. Not all of them are new, not all of them are old, not all of them are groundbreaking, but I think you might enjoy them. Let's start with one that I just learned about. This guy. This is my glue press, and I know you guys are wanting one. As soon as they're available, we will have them in store again. But here's something I've discovered. I'm good with leaving my glue press out like this if I'm going to be using it every day. Where I found the issue is when I leave for a weekend, especially a long weekend, I leave this one at work. It is best if I just remember to go ahead and put the cap on, put the needle in and put the cap on, and close this guy up for the extended period of time that I'm gone. And I thought, this only works for me, but that's not true because you guys probably don't craft every day. Like I literally am gluing something together Monday through Friday for the most part. So I thought I wanted to share that with you because here's what I've discovered that I think that it does. It's just a theory. I think whenever we don't put the cap on it, even though that silicone piece is closing off the bottom, it's not keeping air out. And I think it is changing my consistency of my glue. It's just a theory that I've got, but I'm testing it. So the tip I want to tell you is if you have a glue press, if you're going to be away from it for more than a day, put the cap on it, let it lay down, and then just open it back up. Another tip, and this is not including the 11th, is clean all that out. This guy gets full of, when you put it back in there, it always hits the side and puts glue everywhere. You'll want to clean that out because over time it's going to make your glue not sit correctly on its little silicone base down there, and that does become a problem. But the tip, if you're going to be gone for a couple of days, put that cap on. It won't hurt anything. All right, my next tip for you is these little blue cloths, whichever kind you use, whatever kind you like. I'll link, by the way, anything I'm using today that I can link for you will be in the description in case I forget to tell you, but I'll link these below for you. Here's the new tip, okay? Speaking of glue, whenever you glue something down on your page, we always want to get the glue to the edge, but even art glitter glue, we don't want it to seep just in case, just in case it will show in some way. I'm going to stick this down like this, and I'm going to press it down and show you what I'm talking about. See how this glue has seeped out this edge? And if I wipe it away, it kind of does that. Over time, that dries, and I really don't see it, but that is just, we don't want that, right? So let me show you what I have discovered. This is a little bit big. I'm going to cut it down so I can show you better. All right, so I'm going to apply glue just like this, trying to get it to those edges, okay? And this time when I put it down, instead of pressing with my fingers, I'm going to press with my cloth. And what I find is whenever the glue seeps, it goes into my cloth and I don't end up smearing on the page. Look at the difference. And this did seep right here. See how that's already drying up and it's not that big of a deal, but it does change the texture of the page a little bit because the glue is smooth. But using this little cloth just like this just picks up all that excess, and I love that. I have found over the last, I don't know, I guess I've been doing this for a couple of months. It really works well. And I want you to see it again because I don't think I did a very good job. Let's glue this one down where some will seep out. So if I put this here, let me try to get some to seep there. So, all right, you see that, how it's seeping out like that? Instead of wiping it, hit it with your cloth, and your cloth just kind of picks it up, and you don't get that mark on the side. So cool. So that's another tip. Use these cloths as your glue press, as you're pressing stuff down on the page. Okay, my next two tips come from here. This is a pocket. You know how we make pockets for folios and things like that? This is the beginning of a pocket. In this corner, get this where you can see my score marks. See my score marks there? What I have always taught you in the past, and I did bring this tip to you not long ago in a short video, and I showed it in a video too, but I want to show you again. What I've told you in the past, and I'm going to do it like this, is to cut straight across where those guys cross over, and that is mitering the corner to take some of the bulk out when we close the pocket. The reason I have gone away from that is because, check this out, many times, and I did not fold that well, I'm going to need that corner in a second, get that right. Many times when we do that miter corner and we close this down, that one turned out perfect. Every time I want to show y'all this, it turns out perfect. But many times we get a pushback here. They touch each other. So what I've started doing is the pivot cut. And here's how I changed what I did. Instead of cutting straight across, now I cut to the cross mark here in the middle where they cross over. And then once I get there, I'm just going to turn in or turn to the left about 1/8 of an inch and cut again. Now what you see, I'm going to lay these down so you can see what we actually get. This is the first one we did. You see that nice straight line. The second one you see is almost an arrow shape. Not much. It's very slight, but it's enough to take that excess bulk out so that when we fold, we don't have to do a second cut to get that bulk. Love that. Okay, the next tip comes from the internet. That's what I'm going to say. But I will tell you that many people tell me this is something Genevieve did or does all the time. And I did show y'all this in a build recently. And that is when you're putting a pocket in, apply glue to the bottom flap. This is when you're doing like a gusseted pocket or one of these guys. Put this down on the page before you bring the rest of your pocket up. I don't even have that straight because I'm not too stressing. I'm just showing you this. Also, my bright colors are so you can see what's happening. Then what she does, and what I saw this from someone else, and I do not remember who it was on the internet, but I was watching a folio video and they did this. They put tape and they use Scotch tape, just like this, across that seam so that when you're sliding stuff in and out of your pockets, let me show you, things don't catch on that bottom. You know, without it, things kind of catch, but with it, it can slide over. And when you close this up, you don't see that tape. It's hidden inside and it does its work kind of hidden. Now, since I gave that tip, since I showed that, there was a comment that Scotch tape is not acid free. This is true. I had to do the research. So if that is a thing for you, if you're concerned about that, you want to make sure you're using something acid free. Me personally, I would love to see us using the yellow tape for this because I think this is an incredible tape that is going to stick well. Or washi. Washi would work really well. But it's just a good idea because it just makes that so seamless for things to slide in. So that is another tip and a tip. I'm not counting them because I'll get off. So that's how that goes. Okay, next. This is something I have been doing for a really long time, and some of you may not know about it. But when you have a cardstock that you're scoring, especially something that has a print on it, there's some cardstock manufacturers that print their images across the page so it doesn't go all the way through the page, so it doesn't seep into the fibers, and you end up with like a white core, or you can see that there's something different from the top layer to the middle of the page. This is a trick for you, okay? If you will score the top section of whatever you're doing and then flip this over and score the underside, you get a much better fold. Now, this works really well on those kind of pages that are printed on top and also super thick cardstock. If you can imagine, when you have a really thick cardstock, and if you know us, we like to use a thick cardstock because we build folios, it can't always get into these grooves very well. So if I'm pressing down, and maybe you don't press very hard, if I'm pressing down, I don't get a very deep score. Do you see how shallow that second score is? And it barely comes through on this side, but you see how much more pronounced this one is. Because I flip it over, I've broken the fibers, and now I'm going to go again, and you'll see how much thicker that score is. So that's another tip I want you to think about. If you ever, it really depends on your cardstock. You may have one and go, this doesn't need it. It's a thinner cardstock, or maybe it's a 60 or an 80 pound, or maybe you're using something that's measured in GSM, which is a lot of times lighter. But if you're using something that is a cover stock or thicker, consider and score the top and the back. And if you have a cardstock that cracks no matter what you do, top and bottom scoring, doing the front and the back, is going to help that for you. This tip I'm going to show you here is one I have used for many, many years, but I just want to show you again in case you don't know. When you're placing stamps, say you're going to put them onto a block and you need them to be close together in a certain way. Like if I want to do congrats and I want it close, or if I want to also add, I'm just grabbing from here. Maybe I want to add this little diploma and I want to make this look super cute on the page. If I try to do this, a lot of times things stick to me or get shifted around because these stamps stick to us, right? Let me show you this. These stamps don't stick to erasers. Do you see this? I can move these anywhere I want. Now, they've stuck to each other. That's a thing. They're going to do that. but I can move them with this eraser and they don't touch me. Now, I've shown you that tip before, but I tried something this week. This is my Altenew eraser, and I wanted to see if it worked the same, and I thought that it would, and it does. I'm able to move these guys around. I guess I should stick my page down good, but I can move these guys around without them sticking to the eraser. So I love this tip. So I can line this one up like this. I'm gonna bring this over a little bit, and then we can do the fine work. So I can scoot this diploma where I want it, using this eraser to get it just right. Scoot the word congrats where I want it, nothing's sticking to me, and I'm out of the way. Then I can just pick this up with the stamp wheel plate, and everything's lined up like I want it, and I didn't fight it over and over trying to get things there. If I do it this way, inevitably, something sticks to me in some way, or I get my finger where I don't want it, right? So that's one of my favorite tips. Use your erasers to move your stamps around when lining them up. This really comes in handy when you're doing word stamps where you have, like, maybe you have a big word that has a smaller line or multiple words you need to place. The eraser trick will change things for you. While we're here, just because this is not one of the 11 tips, let me show you this. If you are someone who does not like for your stamps to not line up when you put them back onto the sheet, if you'll place the stamp down, put the sheet on top of it, you can line it up much better and it'll go back where it goes, versus if you're like me, a lot of times I'm just like this and just hoping that it works, you know? But that's another tip too, just in case. Not everybody worries about that, but some of you, and you know, like this diploma, I didn't line up correctly. So let's do it. We'll start up here. Some of you really like these to line up perfectly back on their little label sheets. And I get it. If you do it this way, especially once it's been stamped, look how good that is. That one on there, great. Especially once it's been stamped, those have not. And they'll have a little color to them so you can see them. Same thing here. That is how you can pick your stamps back up and get them neatly back onto your backer sheet. Not included in the 11 tips. That was an extra one. Let me give you a magnet tip. If you are someone who puts magnets into your projects, and a lot of you guys are because we do it for our folios, here's a little tip for you. Get something like a pokey tool, something that has a metal end on it. You might have a pokey tool that's longer than this, or an awl, or something that you have in your room or in your craft stash. Put your magnets together, right? When you go to place this, if you peel the backer off of one side and then stick the other side to your pokey tool, it allows the adhesive part to be free, and you can install it like this. See how I can move this magnet anywhere I want to? It makes it so easy to press that down. I didn't peel that off because I don't want to waste this magnet. But do you see? It can go wherever I want it to, and I can move it and get it right where I want it before I press it down. I love that tip. That's one of my favorite ways to put in a magnet. Instead of me trying to do this or, you know, get my fingers there, this puts it right where I want it. Super easy, nice and flush. Okay, one of my new favorite things is Spellbinder's tape. This is the centering tape. This comes on a roll, and it is in 12-inch pieces, so you can get like a 12-inch ruler piece of centering tape. What I like about it is it's like your low tack or your washi or what, you know, that we normally use, almost like the yellow tape. It's a little bit sticky at first. What I like about it though is we can stick it to the project to help us get things centered. Now, this one I have probably used 30 times. Look how sticky it still is. I literally stick this down to my glass mat above the screen where you can't see it. This lives just like this on my glass mat. So when I need it, I pick it up and I use it, and I've used it over and over again. This is what you do with it, or what I like to do with it. This piece, I don't even know what size it is, and I don't have to know. All I have to do is make sure, and I'm going to get this seated so you can see, is make sure that my ruler is the same here and here. So you notice that I am 2 1/8 of an inch away here. I am also 2 1/8 of an inch away here. And I have not pointed this out, but it also works for centimeters, okay? So let's say I wanted to put this guy centered directly on this card. I can leave that tape there. My hands are free to work. I'm not holding a ruler in place. This guy is nice and steady, and I could glue this directly down to the center of that cardstock and know it's right where I want it, and I love that. This is one that I use all the time. It's great for placing ephemera. It's great for placing sentiments. It's great for doing precision work like that. I can see me using this whenever I'm doing quilt cards, when I want to lay something just exactly in the center to get me started. You're going to love this stuff. I do believe at the time I'm filming this, it is out of stock in my store, but the order is placed and it's on its way in. So be watching for it. It's really, really good. You'll love that. So this tip I have a full video on, but this is something I think you should create for yourself and keep in your craft room. This is going to be a layer or a mat guide for you when designing your cards. Let me show you what I mean. Let's pull this back one out. This guy is 4¼ by 5½. That is exactly the size of an A2 card. Now, if you don't do A2, maybe you do 5 by 7. Just size this up for 5 by 7. Each of these layers are cut 1/8 of an inch smaller than this guy. Okay, so these are just pieces that I can pick up and move around. Do you see how this is now going to give me that 1/16 of an inch border if I use this one because it's 1/8 of an inch smaller? But if I use the other one, I pick this up. It's a little harder because I did them in black and white. If I use this one, this shows me what my 1/8 of an inch border would look like, which is what we typically do. But what I love this for is for designing cards. I am really bad at figuring out, like if I want a bigger mat and I want something to float in the middle, I'm really bad at figuring that math. So let me show you this. If I have these pre-cut, I can lay this down and I can see, oh, that's going to give me that size mat around the edge. Or I can lay this one down and get even a larger size. And you could keep going with these. You could keep cutting them down. And this will let you see your mat sizes before you even start designing your card. This way, if you have a certain stamp or you have something you want to make a focal point, maybe I want this cookie to be a focal point, I know this is a good size for him to live on with his little mortar board and all that, his feet and his legs, and I can show off more of my paper behind it. Or if I want to double mat it, I can do this and get that 1/16 of an inch border around it, and then see, I can even see what other sizes will play along my mat edge, okay? And what I can do is get my measures right here. They're already done. I don't have to sit here and use my ruler and do any math. This is all done for me. And this I keep right beside my desk. I can grab it at any time. I do think I would continue going. I would go even smaller, maybe this many more times, you know, because sometimes you want to see just the tiniest bit or the tiniest space, or sometimes you want to see if that's the right size for a sentiment, etc. So make yourself these little tools. This is perfect to keep into your stash, and we'll link the video for where I made this as well. All right, this is one that I used just the other day. I was making a card. If you saw the video, we were having fun and we made a card for Sam Elliott. And so I did this one and I thought I'll bring it to you. This is a piece of hemp cord, but also this works the same with baker's twine or anything you have that when it comes off the packaging kind of has a crimp in it or a wrinkle. Let me show you. This works just like the way we curl ribbon, okay? So to get that wrinkle out before you use it to tie a bow, take your bone folder and run it gently, because this is rope. You don't want to get a rope burn, but run it gently along the edge like you were curling it like ribbon. And look how it automatically goes away from the crimp and starts to do the curve. And I do it a couple of times to soften up whatever I'm using before I tie my bow, and I get a much better result. And if it's very, very stiff and it really, really wants to kind of fight against you, just do it a few times. It will soften up, and now we don't have wrinkles and kinks. I love that tip. Another tip, tweezers. They're not tweezers, they're tweezers, but we have a little joke around here. Vinny one time wrote them down as tweezers, and so since then we've called them that. These are reverse tweezers. Do you see that? When I push them, they open. When I release them, they close. These are perfect for when you're working with twine. If you're going to make a bow with your twine and you don't love when you tie your own bows how they turn out, if you make yourself some loops, and you see that I matched these loops up pretty good. This one's a little bit big. Let me pull it in. You make yourself some loops, and I did 2 on this side, and I did 2 on this side. And then you take this little tweezer and hold it together in the middle. You can then, I'm going to use this same twine, so I don't have to cut more. I'm going to cut a piece. You can then take your excess, slide it under your tweezers like so, and tie a knot around those loops. And this will give you a bow without having to tie a bow. And this tweezer is holding everything still for us. We can remove it now. We don't need it anymore. And then we can tighten our knot. And this is going to make the cutest bow for you. Let me get this piece out. You do still, I'm going to tell you something about bows. You still have to mess with them to make them look like you want them. But this is the easiest way to do a bow, and using those tweezers to hold it down for you is like having a third set of hands in the craft room. Look at that. So easy to do. And it was just loops, and I tied a bow with the tweezers holding it still. Love that trick. You're going to get sick of this trick because I say it all the time, but this is my biggest time saver. Pre-make your photo spots. If you make folios or scrapbooks and you put photo spots in them, make these up and keep them in your craft room. When you find yourself with some free time and you don't have a project you want to work on, cut some cardstock. This right here is just cardstock that's been cut from either scrap. Like we'll go through our scrap cardstock and see if we have some big enough to turn these into 4x6 pieces. Sometimes they're 3x4. Sometimes we do 4x4 pieces. This is some that hasn't been stamped yet. It's just in there. But this right here is such a time saver. I literally can go straight to making a folio and have this many photo spots without having to stop, cut, and stamp. This is, I'm telling you, even Shannon said you've got to share that because it is such a time saver. Then store them away, keep them at hand, keep them close, and I suggest put them in clear, because if you put them in something you can't see them, you're tempted to forget about them and make more, but I can look in here and see what I've got. You will love this. I challenge you. Take this afternoon, make yourself maybe 30 photo spots, maybe in multiple sizes, and you will be so glad you did when you make your next folio. All right, one more, and it's the one I've never shown you before because I've never done this one for you guys before, but this to me is pretty cool. I'm going to take some yellow tape, okay, and I'm going to use my cutting mat to help me do this. I want this to be longer than an A2 card. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll do it 7 inches long. I'm going to line this up and cut it out 7 inches. So using my finger blade, I'm just going to run that across gently because I don't want to cut into my mat, and cut that even. So I've got one that's 7 inches, and then I'm going to do one that's 5 inches. You don't have to be so precise, but I do want to be for this project because this is one I'm going to use over and over again. So again, let's cut this off at 5 inches, just like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this guy up, and I'm going to use my cutting mat again. You're making a tool here. That's what we're doing. We're creating a tool. I use my cutting mat again, and I want to lay him in this little corner groove so that I can do some measuring, okay? The trick here is make sure you have it even on one of the lines. This one is lifting a little bit, so I'm going to come back over a little bit. So take a minute to get this guy lined up even along that line in the center, okay? Then take your ruler. You're going to do both of these. I'll go ahead and stick this one down too. Okay, now you're going to take your ruler and a pen. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark an 1/8 of an inch line. If you're using your cutting mat to help, this little spot right here is 1/8 of an inch. And at the bottom off the screen where you can't see, I have a reference point there as well. So I'm going to line my ruler up at 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to make a line. Now I'm looking at my yellow tape, paying attention to make sure I'm nice and even as well, because that's going to matter. Okay, and now I'm going to run this down and run it back. So I've given myself 1/8. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now on the other side, I want to do 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and if you have a ruler like this one that has the grid in it, you can use that grid to your advantage and just lay it down and then do your 1/4 of an inch line. And the same on this side. Now, I'm going to write on here what this is. Up here, this is 1/8. And then here I'm going to write 1/4 so I can know the two. Now, like I said, we're creating tools. What I love about this is we're going to keep this on our work surface and we're going to use this over and over again. Let me show you what these guys will do. Before we put them into practice, I'm going to put these onto a cloth. And I want to get them much less sticky, okay? This tape is very sticky as it is, or not very sticky, but it had a really good stick to it. So I'm going to try to get it soft and less sticky, and you want to do that to both. We're not trying to take all the sticky off, but you want to get them less sticky. Bonus, this is cleaning off your cloth. If you have any lint, these are lint-free cloths, but if you have anything you need to clean off of your cloth, if you got some paper stuck or some cardstock pieces stuck, this is going to pick it off, right? We don't want any big pieces on here because we do want this to still stick down. Okay, so this is a card base. It's a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So imagine this is a folded card sitting here. I want to put a piece that has a 1/8 of an inch border. You guys tell me you struggle with this all the time. So check this out. If you take those tapes that we made and made them very soft, I'm gonna stick it down to my surface. This is why I made it longer than it should be. You can see through this tape and you can place this down where your cardstock is on your pin mark. So I've got my cardstock lined up in that pin mark. You see that? Then I'm gonna do the same with this guy right up here and just line it up along the pin mark. And you'll be able to get over the top of this where I'm avoiding the camera, so you'll be able to get over the top to do that. Then, with your hands out of the way, with this holding your card base down, you can apply glue to your piece and you can see where to put it so that you get an even result, an even mat all the way around. Now, when you peel this off, be mindful, you want to kind of roll it, lay it flat and roll it. Even though you take all the sticky off, it depends on your cardstock here. But this would be glued down, so I wouldn't have to be holding my hand here. But I need to hold it so you can see the result. There's that one. Trying very hard not to shift, but I'm probably going to shift it. I'm going to leave this one like this so I can just lift my hand off. But look at that. Look at that even border all the way around using those little pieces of tape. You can also do it on the other side, which is that 1/4 of an inch side. So we take it over here. And like I said, I'm going to place it on my glass mat first, then put it to the line, put my cardstock to the line. That establishes that one. And then this one will establish the other side. Then cut your piece, lay it in that corner, and now you'll have a 1/4 of an inch mat all the way around. So the math you need to remember is going to be this. If your card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and you want a 1/4 of an inch border all the way around, you're going to double that number and remove it from the size of your mat. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I'm going to cut my piece down to 3 3/4 by 5. So I took 1/2 of an inch off of that, and that's what this will give me. And let me show you the size of this one. 3 3/4 by 5. And that you just line up in the corner, and that will help you get a perfect matte edge every time. This is not for everybody. Some of you don't have a problem getting your matte edges, but some of you tell me that you struggle. And if you're a shaker, like I tend to shake when I craft, if you're a shaker, that can be part of the issue. But if you do this where you're securing your project down with your tape, and here's the thing, this is brand new. We just made this. This is going to get better over time. You might even want to make it a little longer than this and tuck the tape under to give you some handles on the end. I meant to do that and I forgot. I can still fix it. I can add some tape. But by making these longer than your project, they stick down and they kind of get out of your way. Then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go right up here where my Spellbinder centering tape is, and I'm going to stick this to my work surface. And when I need it, I'm going to have it right at hand. I'll show you on this one what I meant by folding it under. If you fold the end under, you don't need much. That's a little bit that I'm folding under up there like that. Then I have this little handle that doesn't stick down. So when I go to release it, I can grab it easy. So that's another little tip for you there. All right, stick this down before I lose it. All right, guys, that was at least 12 tips. I think I stuck some extras in there for you. I hope that'll help you in your paper crafting, and I hope there's something in there you can use that will help you with some issue that you've been having. Maybe it'll make things easier for you as you're paper crafting. Thanks so much for being here today. Please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to Vinny the video. You know what that means. Give us a thumbs up. And until next time, bye now.